Saskatchewan Polytechnic cut staff, the reason for the layoffs. And Saskatchewan's housing market shows no signs of slowing down. Plus, the Saskatoon X comes to an end.
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the latest on Saskatchewan's wildfire situation. Evacuees from Loche are taking refuge in Regina. And as Wayne Mantika reports, some evacuees say they had little time to pack and are struggling to access basic necessities.
It was a long ride to Regina for these Loche evacuees.
Pretty rough. Long ways from Regina, especially the bad hip. Sitting in the same spot for 12 hours.
The situation was further complicated when 2 of 4 buses were held back over confusion about whether heavy smoke was sufficient grounds for the evacuation.
So the public safety agency was the support unit and did turn and hold the buses back and ask people to debark until discussions with community leadership on whether they wish to continue. So they did. Wish to continue.
In the scramble to leave, some arrived in Regina without a change of clothing. They say there are no laundry facilities, forcing people to wash clothing in bathroom sinks. Others say they arrived without any cash and have yet to see the $500 in expense money recently promised by the government.
The only thing is we have no money. They left. They just picked us off the street and took us out. I didn't bring my wallet, nothing.
Other needs are being well met. Hotel accommodations provided by government are good, and buses have been lined up for day excursions.
We're going to go to the Bell Barn in Indian Head, head to LeBret, and then to maybe Echo Park. Just something to do to entertain them, I guess, today.
The government says it is providing food, accommodations, and laundry services for Loche evacuees. Those requiring additional financial assistance can apply through an app to have their needs assessed. As for the $500 promised, the government says it is intended for the recovery process of returning home and will be distributed by either the SPSA or the local community. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
More than a dozen employees at Saskatchewan Polytechnic received layoff notices. The school says it's facing financial pressures as international student enrollment drops. CTV's Stacey Hine has the details.
Saskatchewan Polytechnic has cut 14 out-of-scope employees and says 8 vacant positions won't be filled. That's about 10% of its out-of-scope workforce. In an email to staff on Wednesday, Sask Polytech President Larry Roche said some departments and faculties are being merged or dissolved. He said more difficult decisions are coming, which may include more layoffs. Roche added federal immigration changes that limit international student enrollment is creating a significant revenue shortfall for the upcoming academic year. International students typically pay much higher tuition. For example, a domestic student in the medical lab tech program at Sask Polytech pays about $7,300 in tuition a year, while an international student pays $18,500, roughly $11,000 more. The NDP says post-secondary schools have come to rely on that tuition to make up for what it says is underfunding at the provincial level.
Which should never have been in this position in the first place. The Sask Party should have never starved our post-secondary schools of funding.
CTV News reached out to the provincial government but did not receive a response by broadcast. In a statement to CTV News, the federal government says adequate funding of post-secondary institutions is a provincial responsibility. It says immigration targets are based on an annual plan and designed to match community capacity. It added that post-secondary schools should only accept as many students as they can properly support, including with housing. Ottawa says it will continue to work with provinces and post-secondaries to find a path forward for international students. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
All right, Jeff, I'm already thinking about the weekend. What do you got?
Well, it's not like it's that far away. But what have we got? We've got rain in the forecast. So if you plan on being indoors, checking out something at the Fringe or something, well, then you're fine. But if you're outdoors, a little different situation. Yes, this is just one of a series of lows that is going to be impacting our province. Now, of course, we want a lot of this active weather, the rain, to move farther north than it might. We do have some rainfall warnings in effect. Some places in the province, the Greenwater Lake area in particular, they may see up to 75 millimeters of rain by the time we get to Sunday. But we'll talk about all those numbers a little later on.
Thanks, Jeff. Saskatchewan's housing market continues to break records. Keenan Sorkon has more on what's driving up the prices and when this trend could slow down.
It's the busiest year I have ever had.
Saskatchewan's housing market is showing no signs of slowing down, with communities across the province breaking pricing and sales records last month.
We have 8 communities that reported double-digit gains compared to July last year.
After 25 consecutive months of above-average sales and consistent supply challenges, prices keep climbing. The provincial residential benchmark price hit an all-time high of nearly $373,000 in July, up from last month and over 8% higher than last year. Outside of the hottest markets in Regina and Saskatoon, Humboldt, Meadow Lake, Melville, Swift Current, and Yorkton all broke pricing records.
This is not an urban issue. We are seeing really throughout Saskatchewan pressure on prices.
Mortgage broker Conrad Neufeld says he's been getting more calls than ever from out-of-province buyers being priced out of Ontario and BC.
Realizing that people that are moving here with stronger incomes are bidding up these homes.
Homes are as expensive as they've ever been in Regina and Saskatoon, with the benchmark price of a home at over $343,000 and $435,000 respectively.
The running theme with my conversations is, man, how does anybody afford this? So there's a growing number of population in Saskatchewan that's wondering if they're ever going to own a home, which historically is something that you would expect to see in BC and Ontario.
Garrett doesn't see the market slowing down anytime soon, with more housing needed across the spectrum.
How much runway do we have until we are no longer the most affordable place to live? And that runway is getting shorter and shorter.
With the cost of housing construction rising, Neufeld says there's an emphasis on creating rental or attached units. Add that on top of the population growth Saskatchewan has seen, and this trend could continue for years. Keenan Sorkon, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Turning now to a crash in Saskatoon involving a truck. Emergency crews responded just before 1 o'clock today on 22nd Street. Crews found a concrete mixing truck had tipped over and was leaking fluid. The driver was able to get out of the vehicle and was assessed on scene by firefighters and Metis ambulance personnel. The fluid was found to be water, posing no environmental threat. The scene has been cleared and traffic has been rerouted to avoid the scene. Saskatoon police continue to investigate. And traffic was backed up along 8th Street following a crash involving 4 vehicles. Here's a look at the scene just after 11:30 this morning. Emergency crews were called to the intersection of 8th Street East and Wiggins Avenue. Police say one of the drivers proceeded from a stop while it was unsafe and received a traffic ticket. No one was injured. A 12-year-old girl is facing charges in Saskatoon after allegedly threatening an 11-year-old boy. Police were called to Dr. Gerard Hasberg Park North in College Park neighborhood yesterday afternoon. Police say witnesses reported seeing a girl threaten a boy with a knife. No one was physically harmed, and police found the girl in a nearby home with the knife. She's facing a string of charges, including assault with a weapon. The 140th edition of the Saskatoon exhibition wraps up tonight after setting a new attendance record. Yesterday saw more than 41,000 people take in the rides, food, games, and shows, the single busiest day ever. Last night, TLC headlined the grandstand while Sask Jordan rocked the saloon. The 8-day celebration comes to an end tonight. The city of Regina is facing 2 lawsuits for allegedly breaching employment contracts. It comes after the city terminated 3 administrators in the past 2 months. Sierra D'Souza Butts has that story.
Two former employees are suing the city of Regina after being abruptly dismissed in April of this year. Lee Pham, who was the chief of staff under former city manager Nikki Anderson, and Audra Young, the director of Indigenous Relations and Community Development, filed their lawsuits on July 4th at Court of King's Bench in Regina. Both were fired by the city on April 30th. Now, according to court documents obtained by CTV News, Pham and Young have filed a statement of claim against the city for an alleged breach of their fixed-term employment contract. The pair claims the city dismissed them without providing compensation and other employment benefits that otherwise would have been received until their contracts ended. Pham's contract was set to last until February 2028, while Young's contract would have been in place until February 2027. In a statement to CTV News, the city of Regina says it's aware of the two lawsuits and has no further comments as the matter is before the court. Pham was terminated from her position shortly after Anderson went on leave. Anderson has also since been fired by Regina City Council. The allegations have not yet been tested in court as the lawsuit is still in its early stages. The city has also not filed its defense statement. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck and the NDP caucus are in Prince Albert this week, speaking with local community leaders and reinforcing its stance on provincial issues. The NDP highlighted crime, noting severe crime in Prince Albert has risen 7% since 2018. A statement from the province says Prince Albert continues to face challenges, but there are signs of progress. The statement says the latest crime severity index from 2024 shows Prince Albert's municipal crime severity index dropped by 20% last year.
You'll continue to see us right around this province. And you know, one of the things, whether it's our meetings here in PA or in Yorkton or in Moose Jaw that we've had recently, that I am always so happy to hear is people noticing that this team is showing up.
Beck says members have been discussing meetings with Indigenous leaders about economic opportunities in the north. RCMP are looking for a man wanted on driving offenses after refusing to pull over in southeastern Saskatchewan. Police say 25-year-old Mitchell Buckle from Manitoba fled from officers when they tried to pull him over in the town of Lampman. Police say he sped off and didn't abide by any traffic signs on the way out. Buckle is also facing warrants from Estevan and Winnipeg police. Anyone with information on where he is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. Harvest is close to starting across most of Saskatchewan. According to the latest provincial crop report, crops quickly developed over the last week with mostly dry and warm conditions across the province. Rain would still help later seeded crops, but earlier crops won't see much benefit. Harvest has already begun for some, particularly in the southwest. Drivers are reminded to be patient and cautious around farm equipment on roadways as harvest ramps up. A Saskatchewan-wide ban on pruning elm trees is in effect until the end of August, all in an effort to curb the spread of Dutch elm disease. And numbers in at least one city are down.
Elm trees provide relief from the sun in the summer, and its canopy frames so many of North America's streets. But there is a disease threatening these beautiful, lush trees.
Dutch elm disease is a fungal disease carried by elm bark beetles. That's the vector of the disease. What happens there is it carries the spores from infected elm trees and transmit it to live ones.
The city of Yorkton recently wrapped its comprehensive Dutch elm disease survey.
This is more of protecting our trees within the city, and also to a cost. There is a cost value to us removing trees and losing those trees for a long time.
Once a tree is lost, it takes a long time to replace.
Around that 50 years, we might start seeing a very good canopy.
Even the 3 identified trees are 3 more than what the city wants to see, as the disease flares up in several areas of Saskatchewan.
The shade, for just natural beauty of the elm tree, it's very hard to lose. As we've been fortunate so far because other cities have been hurt worse than we have.
Dutch elm disease is easy to spot if you know what to look for.
The leaves will start with wilt and then followed by yellowing. And from that yellowing, that infected branch or where the twig is will turn brown.
Citizens are encouraged to report dead or dying trees to the city and are asked to dispose of elm wood at the landfill. The province also has a ban on elm firewood to help prevent spread, and a ban on pruning elm trees from the 1st of April to the 31st of August. Don't let Dutch elm disease take root. If you see it, report it. Regina, CTV News, Yorkton.
Former Regina Police Chief Troy Hagan has died. He died July 31st, according to an obituary published today. Born and raised in Regina, he became an officer with the Regina Police Force in 1979. Hagan rose through the ranks, eventually becoming police chief in 2008 until his retirement in 2016. Hagan was 67 years old. Still to come on CTV News, the latest on the trade war with the United States, and officials warn about artificial intelligence in the wildfire crisis. You're watching CTV News live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us. Donald Trump is bragging today about the billions of dollars a month that will flow into the United States as tariff revenue. It comes as more countries push back and move away from trade with the United States. CTV's Mike Lecoutier has the latest.
Yes, we're having discussions with the Americans.
Prime Minister Carney wouldn't say when he'll next speak to U.S. President Donald Trump, but Ontario's premier didn't mince words when asked about how Canadians see the American leader.
He's probably the most disliked politician in the world in Canada.
In an interview on CNN, Doug Ford tried to explain to Americans that these tariffs are hurting them.
When you see 37,000 Americans have lost their jobs, that can't pay the rent or can't pay a mortgage, put food on their table, and this is just going to grow even more.
A new report from Yale University shows the current tariffs will hit American consumers.
We're expecting an adjustment of about over $2,000 to, their real household income and sort of purchasing power.
The impact could be felt in back-to-school shopping, as the tariffs will make shoes 40% more expensive, and the price of other clothes will rise by 38% because of import duties. Meantime, the impact on Canada's economy is being measured by the Royal Bank. In June, 92% of Canadian exports crossed into the U.S. duty-free because they are covered under the current trade agreement, leaving 8% subject to punishing tariffs.
That portion of trade is unfortunately facing an average tariff rate of 30%.
Still, the overall impact on the Canadian economy is relatively small at this point, but sectors like steel and aluminum continue to suffer. While campaigning ahead of his by-election in Alberta, Pierre Poilievre criticized Carney's handling of the trade talks.
He's been bending over backwards for the president and so far has gotten nothing in return.
Now, Prime Minister Carney continues to say he will speak to the U.S. president when it makes sense, but there is no clear indication of exactly when that could be. Mike Lecoutier, CTV News, Ottawa.
Winnipeg police have arrested a senior member of their force who'd already been charged last year on new allegations, including drug trafficking and obtaining and distributing pictures of a deceased person.
The second incident occurred on May 21st, 2021, and this involved a sudden death that Constable Bostock attended. While on duty, Constable Bostock attended a call for service regarding a sudden death in the 500 block of Osborne Street, at which time he obtained an intimate photo of a deceased female who was only partially clothed. Constable Bostock then distributed this photo electronically to another party. The charges relating from that second incident are indignity to human remains, distributing an intimate image, and breach of trust.
Constable Elston Bostock is a 22-year member of the force. He and two other officers were charged in November. The investigation continued, and he and a second officer were arrested yesterday. Police accuse him of breaking and entering to commit extortion and breach of trust while partnered with Bostock. Prime Minister Mark Carney is hoping a meeting with Métis leaders today will cause relief, not consternation. The group is sharing concerns over the government's Bill C-5, which fast-tracks major projects, but there's contention within the ranks. CTV's Abigail Binman has more on how that meeting went.
Thank you for coming. Prime Minister Mark Carney said the government is listening to Métis people now, citing their work creating original trade networks across the land.
Part of a process of creating new trade networks, new forms of commerce in Canada, both with full recognition this time, full recognition of Métis contributions and full Métis access.
Métis leaders positive after the meeting. Summer summits held as a response to friction over the rushed passage of C-5, the Building Canada bill. Not as much from Métis as other Indigenous groups, but Métis organizations certainly have questions.
As long as, the Canada is going to consult with us and make sure that our Indigenous rights are protected, we're ready to go.
This was a great start, and we need to have more dialogue like this.
We can't go there if Ontario is in that room.
Meanwhile, the Manitoba Métis Federation refused to attend, saying Wednesday Carney invited what it considers to be illegitimate organizations.
If you want to come and sit down with my cabinet and a government-to-government relationship, we will meet. But if you want to insult us, then we'll see each other in a different political realm in the future.
We've had good engagement directly with the Manitoba Métis, and that will continue.
The Métis Nation of Ontario says Manitoba is putting forward a new and false narrative. Meanwhile, the Métis Nation of British Columbia also refused attendance because it was only invited as an online observer. This was the last of 3 summer summits the Prime Minister held with Indigenous groups, First Nations, Inuit, and now Métis. Carney says the goal is to have both the Major Projects Office and the Indigenous Advisory Council up and running by Labor Day. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
As wildfires force people from their homes in Saskatchewan, there are concerns about a rise in misinformation driven by AI. It's prompting officials in British Columbia to issue a warning. CTV's Isabel Zavarose has that story.
Captivating images of wildfires. The photos so realistic that those in charge of wildfire management are worried they could impact how people respond to natural disasters.
People might make decisions based on those images, or be more fearful because of those images, or not take our warning seriously.
The photos are generated by artificial intelligence. The BC Wildfire Service says it noticed them in the last few weeks on Facebook during the peak of the wildfire season.
Wildfires are already, or can be, a really scary time for people. There can be a lot of anxiety around that. People can be unsure about what to do or what's happening. So anytime that we see potentially adding more fear or anxiety when it's not needed, we're concerned about that.
This is an AI image of the Drought Hill wildfire in Peachland. Here's what it actually looks like.
Often the images that we've seen are making the fires that they're purporting to be about look way worse than they are in reality.
In January, as wildfires tore through Los Angeles, AI images of the iconic Hollywood sign engulfed in flames were shared online.
It's irresponsible for people to put out these types of images. You can be costing people's lives because of putting out fake news like that.
One UBC scientist says he worries AI will be misused.
I predict that, it's only going to become harder from here. That the use of these technologies will become much more pervasive because it's becoming accessible and the models are only getting better. And I think the awareness and the education around these should really be happening right now.
So the message that I have to British Columbians is please be cautious of where you get your information. Be aware of AI-generated content.
The province is urging people to turn to trusted sources of information instead, such as local media, governments, and First Nations. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
Saskatchewan isn't alone in seeing more transmission of measles, and now medical experts say Canada could lose its status as a country where measles have been eliminated. CTV's Pauline Chan has that story.
Canada was declared to have eliminated measles in 1998.
So measles elimination is defined by the World Health Organization, and it means that within a certain geographical area, in this case Canada, that there is no sustained transmission of measles over a 12-month period.
Jana Shapiro from the University of Toronto says it doesn't mean there were 0 cases, just no sustained transmission.
And now that we've seen a resurgence in the past year or so in Canada, we are at risk of losing that elimination status in 2025.
10 of our 13 provinces and territories have seen cases. Alberta has over 1,600 cases of measles, and Ontario has seen more than 2,300.
We really had our bulk of our cases in kind of March, April, but that's not yet the case in Alberta. I think there's still quite a few new cases being reported on a weekly basis.
Many of the cases sprang from a single event in New Brunswick last October, which led to transmission in other provinces.
I have a lot of concerns. Very deep concerns professionally, foremost, and also personally. Professionally, because measles is truly the most contagious virus that you can come in contact with.
Michelle Canor was diagnosed with measles in May and was hospitalized for several days despite getting a vaccination decades ago. And as a teacher, she worries about measles spread.
Average 32 kids in a classroom in city schools. It would be a really dangerous thing to have classrooms of children taken out by the measles. And most will manage it. Most will be able to be resilient and overcome it, but some may not.
Shapiro says Canada could lose its measles eliminated status as early as October and says public health vaccination efforts must continue. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Your own venue to the Fringe this year?
That's why we'll be performing Can't Help Falling in Love with Shakespeare at the Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan site, produced by Live Fully.
Tell us what the weather's going to be like.
Ooh, how demanding. There you go. All right. She's probably the director. There you go. So anyhow, yes, brush up your Shakespeare. Start quoting him now. We have got ourselves some okay conditions for your next 2 performances. You're already on stage right now. But both Friday and Saturday at 6 o'clock at the Shakespeare site, not in the Broadway area, you can check out this particular production. It looks like tomorrow, we're going to concentrate on tomorrow's forecast. About 19 degrees for a daytime. I have a good chance of showers, but you'll be indoors under a tent there, and so it may be a little cooler by the time we get to showtime at 6 o'clock. But 25th Street Theatre, to find out about that show, .org, to find out about that particular show or other things going on at the Fringe. Now, on to our current temperatures. Here we go. Clickety-click. Well, let's say maybe I paid the bill on this one. There we go. Well, let me see. You know what? Let me simply tell you that we've had ourselves a warm day, and it looks like the almanac, we were seasonal for this time of year. So all in all, things are looking pretty good, and we'll have more on this later.
Coming up on CTV News, making history on the diamond, we meet the first woman to umpire a major league game.
All right, welcome back. Well, it's looking a little stormy right now. You can certainly see. I would think that that's probably rain that's actually hitting the ground, so it's not considered virga. But right now, this is what we're dealing with in the skies around Saskatoon. So we'll keep our eye on all of this. Of course, you can certainly see a little bit of light around the horizon there. So it doesn't mean that it's a massive wall-to-wall and treetop tall storm. But we'll keep our eye on that as we roll along. Let's take a look at our satellite and radar shot here. This is why we have those stormy clouds, because this low-pressure area has really been impacting parts of Alberta in particular, but now is moving through Saskatchewan. Some places in the province do have rainfall warnings, but that's mostly a weekend affair. But the rainfall warnings have been issued by Environment Canada. More on that in just a couple of seconds here. 24 in Saskatoon, 20 in Prince Albert with some showers in the area, and 22 in the Battlefords, and a bit breezy in Saskatoon and the Battlefords compared to Prince Albert and area. On to our hot spot. That's Coronach at 28 degrees. The cold spot, 8 degrees in Key Lake. Around the province we go. It is values. 22 degrees right now in Lloydminster, 21 in Swift Current, 26 in Moose Jaw, 1 degree cooler in Regina, 23 in Yorkton, 21 in Estevan. In central parts of the province, temperatures ranging from 19 degrees in a few communities, including Melfort, Waskesiu, and Spiritwood, up to 26. That's in Rosetown, 25 in Kindersley, 20 in Meadow Lake, 24 in Hudson Bay. Up north, warm temperatures in northern Saskatchewan, 25 degrees in Stony Rapids and South End, 26 in Key Lake, 21 in Buffalo Narrows, 22 in La Ronge, 24 in Sandy Bay, Island Falls, and down south, East End at 18 degrees, but it does get as warm, it does become as warm as 25 degrees in Assiniboia and Coronach, 23 in Indian Head, 23 in a few communities, including Elbow, Last Mountain Regional Park, Melville, and Broadview. And now on to our futurecast. Here we go. Here's what we're talking about in terms of those nastier conditions, sort of cycling through parts of the Dakotas there. But as you can see, once we get into Saskatchewan, it's scattered in nature, but some of that does coalesce north of Prince Albert as we roll into the weekend rather. So that area you see east of Prince Albert, we're talking about Melfort, Tisdale, Greenwater. Those areas could see up to 75 millimeters of rain by the time we get to Sunday. We do have extreme thunderstorm warnings in effect for areas down around just north of the Swift Current area there, down towards just east of Estevan, down around Oxbow. And then, of course, we have those watch boxes that include Moose Jaw as well as Regina. Okay, here we go. Around the province, we've got ourselves temperatures in the low to high 20s in northern Saskatchewan, so quite a range of temperatures there. Expecting some showers in Buffalo Narrows and Key Lake. Inclement weather for west central Saskatchewan, temperatures around 18 degrees. Possibility of some thunderstorm activity in Kindersley. We've got ourselves showers expected in Maple Creek. Otherwise, cloudy skies for the southwest, at least the communities that we highlight here, with temperatures around 19 degrees on Friday. Chance of showers with the risk of a thunderstorm in Yorkton, Regina, and Moose Jaw with temperatures of 22 or 21 degrees. 23 for Estevan under cloudy skies. And unsettled conditions with a chance of thunderstorm activity in east central Saskatchewan with temperatures in the high teens, low 20s. On to the Battlefords, dropping down to 14 tonight with a good chance of showers. That lingers into tomorrow. Risk of a thunderstorm overnight into tomorrow, a high of 19. And then we've got 23 degrees on Saturday, 24 on Sunday, and 23 to start the work week. Prince Albert's overnight temperature, 15 degrees, 19 tomorrow. But as you can see, showers overnight into tomorrow, up to 20 millimeters of rain on Saturday with a risk of a thunderstorm, 20% chance of 20 degrees for a high with a 60% chance of showers on Saturday, and then mainly cloudy skies, but a bit of a cooling trend as we make our way into next week. And finally for Saskatoon, chance of showers tonight with a risk of a thunderstorm, 14 degrees, 19 tomorrow, a better chance of showers, maybe up to 15 millimeters of rain, and that rain lingers into Saturday. Sunday, 24, and a warm start to the work week. Or slightly below seasonal, but still in the low 20s on Monday.
Further I say, and further will maintain, that he did plot the Duke of Gloucester's death.
The Tragedy of Richard II, along with A Midsummer Night's Dream 1985, are the two main stage productions of the 40th anniversary season of Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan. The festival runs until August 24th.
Oh no! It's a first in human history. It's a theatrical worst. It's head smashed in, audience jump.
English artist Jem Rolls, who claims to have been involved in more Fringe Festival performances and productions than anyone on the planet, is back in Saskatoon. This year's extended monologue is Adventures in Canadian Parking Lots. The Saskatoon Fringe offers indoor and outdoor performances and wraps up on Saturday. The Art of Banksy, Without Limits, continues its run at Scotia Centre in downtown Saskatoon. The exhibit is billed as offering a unique, immersive journey into the world of the mysterious artist.
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, how are ya?
Friday, August 15th, marks the return of Rock the River to the Bessborough Gardens. This year's three-day lineup of 11 classic bands includes Streetheart, 5440, Odds, Headpins, Honeymoon Suite, and Asia.
All right, Jeff, we've been getting some really great photos.
We have, and that trend continues. Let's start off with this one. Look at this lovely shot. This comes to us from Charlotte. This is a beautiful sunset last night at Sled Lake, and it certainly is beautiful. Yeah, some great sunsets. We are blessed by beautiful sunsets in this province. And another sunset photo. This almost looks like, you know, the Endless Summer photo, the Bruce Brown movie. There you go. But this is from Philippe, and this is up at Waskesiu at Prince Albert National Park. Somebody out there doing some paddle boarding. A beautiful spot to do that. And this is a twofer here, because we got this shot here from Heather. She says this is up at Iroquois Lake. She says our 1.5-year-old pup Frankie running and playing in the lake next to chasing bubbles. Playing in the water is her favorite thing to do.
Oh my gosh.
And then this is the close-up of Frankie. So Frankie's intense. So thanks a lot for sharing that with Heather. I think maybe your uncle was the one who actually took the photos, but what a great shot there of Frankie enjoying the water up there at Iroquois Lake. If you've got a picture you'd like to share with us, you can do so by sending it to CTV News at ctv.ca.
Still to come on CTV News, we take a look at some barriers being broken in baseball. History is set to be made on the baseball field this weekend. For the first time ever, a woman will step behind home plate to umpire a major league game. ABC's Danny New has more on this trailblazing moment, years in the making.
While the NBA hired its first full-time female referees in 1997 and the NFL followed suit in 2015.
By the way, that is Jen Powell behind the plate today.
This weekend, in a series between the Marlins and the Braves, Major League Baseball is set to call up Jen Powell to be its first female umpire in league history. In a statement, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred saying, quote, "She has earned this opportunity and we are proud of the strong example she has set." A former three-time all-conference softball player at Hofstra, the New Jersey native has been working her way up since beginning her umpiring career in a then-rookie league back in 2016.
Their manager, Rick Sweet, was ejected.
In the minors, Powell has built a reputation for holding her ground, seemingly having no problem throwing out managers who get in her face.
At any place of work, it's wild to have people in your face screaming at you.
Hey, just go on Twitter. You can find people screaming at you all the time.
One person who might understand how Powell will feel this weekend is Jenny Kavnar here.
He's going to be safe. Slides under the tag. Joey Burke couldn't get it there in time.
Last spring, the Athletics hired Jenny to be the first female primary play-by-play announcer in league history. Around the same time, Powell had just become one of the only ever female umpires in the history of spring training.
I can tell you right now, this is probably the most uncomfortable thing that she's ever going through, because she doesn't want the spotlight on her. She's an umpire. She wants to go in and be fair and call a Major League Baseball game. And I'm excited, though, for that visual, and I think she also probably understands the significance of that.
Of course, at this point, Powell has plenty of experience in being part of history, and here's how she reacted after that first game in 2016.
And then once those pitches started coming in and plays started happening at first and stuff like that, I felt sort of like a little bit more relaxed. And I was like, all right, let's enjoy this now. Let's do it.
When we come back, a recap of yesterday's Rattlers game and my worst nightmare. We meet Cecil the Seagull.
All right, welcome back. Time for the rural forecast, and we'll take a look at what is likely going to be a pretty unsettled day for most parts of the province. Right now, it doesn't look like the rain or the possibility of thunderstorms is going to impact Kindersley and Outlook, but all the other places on our map, yeah, it looks that way. Well, let's take a look at the numbers. It gets kind of cool in some locations into the high teens, which is below seasonal, but it's not surprising given the chance there's going to be some precipitation. Down south, the unsettled conditions continue. Quite cool down in East End, just a high of 15 for tomorrow, 21 in Coronach, 23 in Carlisle, but Carlisle doesn't look like it's going to be particularly rainy. Let's take a look at Asquith. Asquith tomorrow, well, raining. Chance of a thunderstorm is certainly in the cards. Winds out of the north at 15 and 20 degrees for a daytime high. And that's right, Asquith is one of those places where internet plans of up to 1 gig are available from SaskTel.
Some PWHL news. One of Saskatoon's own will be staying in Ottawa. Emily Clark, one of the star players on the Ottawa Charge, will be sticking with the team. Clark signing a 2-year contract extension with Ottawa. The 29-year-old has been part of the team since the inaugural season. And the Toronto Blue Jays are breaking records.
That ball is out of here.
The Jays set both a franchise and MLB record for hits in a 3-game series. They swept the Rockies yesterday with a 20-1 win with 24 hits. This set a new club record at 63 hits over 3 games. In the top of the 9th inning, the Jays also set a record for runs in a 3-game series with 45. The Jays are on the road to play the Dodgers tomorrow night. And here at home, Saskatoon's baseball team lost last night. WCBL playoffs are underway after a record-setting regular season. The Berries lost Game 1 to Moose Jaw 6-4. Game 2 is tonight in Moose Jaw. First pitch at 7:05. If needed, Game 3 is back in Saskatoon on Friday. In basketball, the Saskatchewan Rattlers kept it close last night at SaskTel Centre, but couldn't hang on.
Scotty Lindsay with a few looks at it finally gets it to go.
The Rattlers held the lead for 3.5 quarters, but couldn't finish it off, losing 100-94 to the Edmonton Stingers. The Rattlers remain at the bottom of the West with a 6-16 record. They'll look to turn things around Friday night in Calgary before closing the season at home on Sunday. Turning now to local gas prices. The average price in Saskatoon is currently at $1.28 a liter. That's down. The lowest price in town is $1.22.9. On Saskatchewan markets, Cameco finished the day at $1.0501 and Nutrien dropped $3.17. Coming up, an NHL player's close call with a Grizzly. Then we meet a seagull with some bold behavior.
Select Hair Services brought to you by Sage, the beauty bar.
All right, well, we have some great shows for you tonight. You can check out The Big Bang Theory right after this, and then The Rookie later on. Well, an NHL player has quite the story to tell his teammates. Seattle Kraken forward John Hayden and the team's mascot had a wild run-in while filming a promo video in Alaska. Take a look.
Right there. Oh, I got to break you off now. Okay. Hey, Sam, we got a bear. We got to move down.
Well, Hayden and the mascot were in a national park when a grizzly approached. They quickly decided the best course of action would be to return to shore, along with the film crew. Grizzlies are common in the area. Organizers had hired guides for safety. Hayden called it a close call. He was on the trip in June to promote youth hockey. There you go. Cut short.
And what's the strategy? Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't care that the Grizzlies seen people before. We're not us. All right. Well, signs have been posted at a beach in Connecticut warning about a seagull named Cecil.
Does not give up. As long as he puts his mind to it, he can eat anything on the beach at this point.
Cecil the seagull is notorious for taking food right out of people's hands. Signs have been put up warning about Cecil's bold behavior. Lifeguards say he loves his carbs, but also has a taste for the finer things like king crab.
Wow.
And while it might sound funny, some people have actually reported being bitten when Cecil makes his move. You know, Jeff, you think we're at the top of the food chain?
Well,
you know, no. Cecil.
Speaking about, well, it's true enough. Speaking of being at the top, we got some great news. Yes. Victoria Mboko has won the National Bank, I'll call it the Canadian Open in tennis. And you know where she got her first professional win?
Tell us.
Right here in Saskatoon.
Really?
That's right. In 2022, she won the Challenger at Riverside, and then she won it the following year. So a nice connection to Saskatoon there. So congratulations. That's great news for Canadian tennis. And you know what else is great news? This.
We have a prop.
No, we don't.
Oh.
I think I broke it.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Back to the tennis. Back to what a win was.
It was an amazing win, and the great thing about it was my understanding is that the men's final was going on in Toronto. This was taking place in Montreal, and then when the Canadian news broke, the crowd in Toronto went crazy.
I love that.
I know.
I love that.
Cool.
Well, what a big win. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.
Bye now.